Hey everyone, and thanks for watching and joining us here on BuffaloPlus.com as well as on the YouTube channel Buffalo Plus. Over 300 subscribers. 300. Well done. Thanks for following along. We also posted on there Josh Allen's full press conference or Zoom press conference that he talked yesterday. He pretty much addressed the entire gamut of questions, from race to the climate of the country to offseason workouts to Stephon Diggs and everywhere in between. Mike, start with you. Biggest takeaway from his Zoom call?
I think Josh is a pretty mature 24-year-old, but I think he also realizes his place in the world. People expect him to roll. Number one, he's a Super Bowl champion. And number two, he's a black man in America. And he's taken that role because people are looking to him for that. And I think Josh Allen, is he entitled to speak? Maybe even to speak more? Are some people looking for that? Yes, Josh Allen, now you have to speak at a higher level than what's expected of somebody at his level in the NFL. And pick other quarterbacks who are in his similar circumstances. I mean, if Sam Darnold was speaking out, okay, he's allowed to, but I'm not sitting there expecting Sam Darnold to speak, or Mitchell Trubisky or anybody else. If Carson Wentz decides he's going to tweet out something, that's good for Carson Wentz. I guess I'm not sitting there going, Josh needs to say this. I think he's supportive of his teammates. I think he's done that in his actions and his words. And I'm impressed by his maturity, no matter what criticism is out there for him.
Yeah, he didn't, shy away from anything. He straight up said, I stand with the black community, especially with my teammates. Jenna, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think like what you said, I think he was very clear in his position on everything. But I think going back to what Mike had to say, like, he's 24 years old and he's been put in the spot where people are looking to him to hear what he has to say. And I think he's done a good job of letting his teammates know and just having those conversations. He talks about, once again, the fact that he wants to listen and hear his teammates' experiences and grow from them. And, I think that's a huge thing, like with the Bills, just having everyone on the same page. And I think it really does help with just even the team chemistry on the field. And I think Josh has made that example of it being important to him and important to his teammates. And it's a big deal for him in Buffalo.
And you do have to realize the way our world is right now. He was asked about Drew Brees and what he learned from that. And what did he say? He's like, Nate, you got to do maybe a little more research before you speak. And I guarantee you will find multiple people who are criticizing Josh Allen for criticizing Drew Brees. That's America in 2020. So not that you step back and don't speak, but I do believe sometimes you got to find your voice and you got to find your place among the team and among the league. And I think he's navigated that pretty well. And I think he will speak more on issues as he gets a little more entrenched as that person in the league.
Yeah. Plenty of articles up on BuffaloPlus.com if you haven't seen them. I have one about how he's grown as a leader on and off the field. Jenna has one about his comments that he made about the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that. Make sure you click and check those out. We talked about him being a leader kind of off the field. On the field, Jenna, a lot of things he's kind of working on, we're finding out, huh?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. He was talking about the fact that he had a conversation with Tony Romo down in Miami for the Super Bowl, and just kind of the mechanics, how he wants to tighten some things up, and how he said down in Miami when he was working with his teammates, it's the best he's ever thrown the ball. He's really focusing a lot more on technique. He was saying how basically he wants to keep his head a little bit more calm, more still, having his left arm in, kind of moving his body on an axis. But I think this is the point where, we saw him year 1 to year 2 kind of progress. And I think year 3, this is the opportunity where Josh knows what it's like playing in the league, knows what it's like starting in the league. And I think, the thing that jumped out to me was he was saying the fact that he has a personal goal of hitting, 60% of accuracy in his passes. And I think it's those little changes that he's trying to make that will help him become more accurate, because he was saying, he's like, yeah, I saw the stat that when I have a 60%, percentage accuracy on my passes, we win the game. So I'm like, yeah, he was saying that's what I need to do. It's not about a 300-yard game, although I'm sure he wants that. It's more about accuracy and where it takes the team.
Mike, he wasn't the only Romo's probably not a Hall of Famer, Mike,
No.
but he talked to some other Hall of Famers, huh?
Yeah, Brett Favre and Peyton Manning. And, of course, Dan, and Dan's got a story coming up, and you posted some stuff already about his affinity for Brett Favre. So that had to be great.
Touchdowns first, coach.
That's it. Tell him. That's what Brett wants. And then Peyton Manning, and I thought what he took from Manning was talking about helping a team come back during a time when they can't be together. That was during the lockout, and Manning dealt with that with his team. That's football leadership, and people are looking for him as the starting quarterback to do that. But I think it's got to be cool. And it's the one positive for these guys in this time. Look, to get Brett Favre or Peyton Manning or Tony Romo to maybe come to Buffalo and come talk to the guys might be tough. But a Zoom call is a couple of clicks, and, Brian Daboll knows some people, and all of a sudden he's got contact with them. And I think that was great. And I'm glad he's obviously got that mindset. And back to what Jenna was talking about with mechanics. Look, Aaron Rodgers totally changed his mechanics coming into the league. I mentioned Wentz. Wentz did major changes in his mechanics when you see the way it works. And it's got to be ingrained in a guy as a player because in those moments, right, when it's tight, it's like the golf swing, right? It's one thing on the range. It's another thing when somebody's coming at you. And in that case, for a quarterback, I think that'll be very helpful to him if he's made those right moves.
The other thing he said was really helpful, probably in a negative way, but is spinning into a positive. He said he's still not over the Houston loss. He said that he was talking about it just the other night, that it still bothers him, and that he's watching tape of Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, how they, especially late in games, take checkdowns. How when the defense is forcing you to do one thing and they know you want to take shots deep, to still take the check down. Now, he said he's not going to become captain check down by any means, so don't worry, Bills fans there. But that's one of the things I think that Josh needs to learn is to take what the defense gives you, right? That's what he struggles at doing, right, Mike? Forcing things.
Yeah, it is. And I think, honestly, to talk about captain check down, the Bills had Trent Edwards. And the difference with Trent Edwards was that was his strength, was the check down. He didn't have it in him.
Not a great strength.
Plays. Right. I think it is probably easier for a player to back off a little bit, to realize it's there. And he made a good point. I mean, those guys are so good at that, especially late game circumstances when everybody knows you got to throw, you got to drive down the field. I mean, Brady was so good at it, where everybody's looking for him to make a play. Next thing you know, he's dumping it off to James White.
Every Super Bowl.
15 yards, right? He's been doing it forever. And then he takes his shots when they're available. So it's smart football, but it can't be your mainstay. And I don't think with Josh it's ever going to be.
I think it was funny. I was listening to the interview, Dan, you did with the Wyoming head coach. And I liked how he said Josh Allen is way more whoa there than giddy up. Like, you don't have to tell Josh to giddy up. You got to tell him to kind of hold it back. But I think that's what you want. But as Josh continues to evolve, I think he realizes he also needs to be smarter and more careful with the football. And I think that, I think a mechanics is also a huge part of that. Now, how will that be when he's under pressure in a game? If the Bills are behind, that's all going to affect. But I think it is interesting because I think he's really learned. You can tell when he was out there on the field last year. I think a lot of times you could tell he maybe wanted to throw the ball, but he kept it in, run, try and get a first down or do a check down. But I think once again, it's that progression of working on that.
And just to add, is there anything more Wyoming than whoa there and giddy up?
Yeah, it's the best.
When you said it, I was like, that is perfect.
Craig Bull, man, also coached Carson Wentz, and he talked about the difference. It's a really cool article. I think it was titled, I titled it Story Time with Josh Allen's Story Time with Wyoming head coach. He talked about Carson Wentz being like a computer and analytical when he gets on the field. And he goes, Josh is more free-flowing art. It doesn't fit in. But he also said, too, Mike, to your point, like you said, it's a lot easier to rein somebody in. I thought it was really telling when he goes, Josh is the kind of guy that wears an S on his chest, meaning he just is 100% trying to be the hero all the time. And like you said, I think it takes more to take that step back and to realize, hey, 10 yards and 6 yards at a time can also get the job done.
Just remember, Dan, what's Brett Favre say?
Touchdowns first, Coach. Shout out John DiTullio.
That's it. Oh, you mentioned that because Rob Johnson once famously said, I don't pay as much attention to Brett Favre. I don't want to get the bad habits. He could have used a lot of Brett Favre habits. Josh, go ahead. Take some Brett Favre habits. That'll help you.
All right, plenty more stuff coming up on BuffaloPlus.com. Be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Keep those numbers going up and drop us a comment as to what else you want us to break down as we move forward through the rest of this offseason. For Mike Catalana and Jenna Cottrell, I'm Dan Fates. Thanks for watching.